Greetings! We're happy to welcome you on the live broadcast of the breaking news on Allatra TV. The main source of CO2 emissions on the planet are volcanoes.
According to a study by scientists, published in a Nature Geoscience article, Earth's tectonic activity regulates the carbon cycle and hence the climate through volcanic degassing and weathering of silicate rocks, minerals.
Continental volcanic arcs are a self-regulating thermostat that controls CO2 concentration through chemical weathering reactions of rocks.
Analysis of the data show that active continental margins played a crucial role in balancing climate fluctuations over entire geological periods. These are areas of active volcanisms caused by plate tectonics.
This study once again confirms that anthropogenic factors are incapable of influencing natural geological processes and cyclical global climate change.
Watch in this episode. The longest volcanic eruption in 50 years. The Volcano Fagradalsfjadl woke up on 19th of March 2021 and is still erupting. Some 143 million cubic meters of lava poured out of the crater in 6 months. This is the longest eruption recorded in Iceland in the 21st century.
And on September 19th, the Cumbre Vieja volcano in the Canaries woke up, previously dormant for 50 years. The lava has already destroyed hundreds of homes. Shortly before the eruption, the evacuation of farm animals and people with reduced mobility began. Allatra TV reporter from the Canary Islands will tell us more on the situation.
Hello, this is Allatra TV reporter from the Canary Islands. On September 19, 2021, the Cumbre Vieja volcano began to erupt on the Canary island of La Palma, Spain. It is the first eruption since 1971. The volcano released 20,000 tons of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, according to the president of the Canary Islands. The cloud of smoke rushed into the sky and were visible from all over the island. The volcanic eruption produced 2 fissures 200 meters apart and 8 cracks through which lava flooded out. The torrents literally corroded homes, infrastructure and crops. About 5,000 people were evacuated from nearby municipalities. It is also noted that more than 20,000 tremors have been recorded in the area since September 11th. Seismic activity on the island of La Palma continues. On September 17th, an active atmospheric front struck the southeastern part of Spain in the municipality of Alcora in the province of Castellón. A powerful hailstorm turned the city streets into violent rivers of ice within just 15 minutes. Strong winds and hail were accompanied by a powerful downpour. In just 2 hours, the water level had risen to the windows of the first floors in some places. The city was covered with a layer of ice up to 15 to 20 centimeters thick. Heavy hailstones pierced roofs, broke car windows, and destroyed the furniture of sidewalk cafes. Some neighborhoods were left without electricity. Many drivers who found themselves in a dangerous situation needed help or rescuers. Services at the Manises airport were disrupted.
On the 22nd of September, there was a storm in the southern Spain with heavy rains and hail. This resulted in floods in the provinces of Córdoba, Granada, and Almería. Many homes and industrial sectors were flooded. The torrents of water were so powerful that they washed away cars. Roads and farmland were also damaged.
In the second half of September, residents of Italy also faced a number of cataclysms. 7 tornadoes struck the north of the country on September 19th. The territories of Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna regions were hit by several tornadoes, the duration of which was dozens of minutes. During this time, the whirlwinds had time to fall trees, damaging homes, buildings and cars. The website of the Italian Meteorological Center reports that never before have there been such a thing as 7 tornadoes recorded in the Po Valley in one day.
At the same time, severe storms and thunderstorms also occurred in the northern part of the country. A LATRA TV reporter will continue on the topic of natural disasters.
Hello, this is LATRA TV reporter from Dagestan. On the 13th of September, in the mountains part of Dagestan, Russia, heavy mud flows came down the roads as a result of prolonged rains. They destroyed 2 kilometers of the road and a bridge support. Traffic on the roads was suspended. On September 21st, squally winds, heavy downpours, lightning and hail hit the Krasnodar territory. Tornadoes raged in the sea. Roads in many cities, in particular in Sochi, Gerinchik, Anapa, have turned into rivers. Also the beaches were washed away by water flows. A day earlier, in the northern and central Italy, there was also a storm with heavy downpours. In less than 2 hours, amount of precipitation fell. The city of Milan and the local Milan Malpensa airport were at the epicenter of the storm. Dozens of people had to be urgently evacuated from vehicles stuck on flooded roads and in the cargo area of the airport. The Savesa River, which flows through Milan, overflowed its banks because of the bad weather and completely blocked the operation of the airport. The airport suspended its work for 2 hours during the storm. Underpasses and some airport buildings were flooded. As a result of the flooding, subway trains in the city were stopped and road traffic was disrupted. There was no information about casualties. On September 21st, the largest active volcano in Europe, Etna, erupted in Sicily, Italy. The ash column rose to a height of 9,000 kilometers. The cloud from volcanic emissions has reached the height at which planes fly. A red warning was issued to aircraft. A small part of the lava from Etna in southwesterly direction caused damage to agriculture, destroying crops.
According to the Forest Fires Remote Monitoring Information System, ISDM Roslekhoz of the Federal Agency for Forestry, as of September 23rd, over 18 million hectares have burned due to forest fires since the beginning of 2021. That being said, over 10.5 million hectares have burned in Yakutia alone.
A volunteer from Yakutia will share his observations and experience of interacting with people during firefighting. Watch next.
This summer is the driest for the last probably 100 years. There has been no rain almost since April. There were small rains and that's all. The drought is specific. And the grass wasn't even born. The villagers are now mowing and only collecting half of it. And some poor people worked like that, collected all these in rolls, and it all burned down. Imagine that. That's such a tragedy, and people practically live by cows. This is a great tragedy for those families who keep cattle. I think that we did contain the fire a little bit. It could have been more destructive, more would have burned down. Understand that professionals are needed, first of all, but these professionals also need assistance. Thank God we are not forced to take risks, we are not allowed to do dangerous work. We help. And we work under the guidance of professionals. To be honest, many of us have become more skilled and have begun to cope with more complex tasks. On the scene, when we put out fires, it was just difficult to breathe there. Our eyes just watered. My eyes burned, and so in principle it rained just yesterday. I know that this means that the fire has stopped a little, so it's still smoldering. And as soon as the sun comes out now, fire will again begin to return its position, as they say. During this time, we must have time to ambush fire there. Dig it in, dry it out, and take advantage of this time. Well, just the other day, there was such a strong smoke, Well, people, just people. By the way, recently, just yesterday, guests came to us, well, not guests, volunteers from the Krasnoyarsk territory, 3 guys on the train. They were gathered there, as far as I remember, by the village of Berezovka in the Krasnoyarsk territory. The whole village gathered them for the road. They chipped in, they chipped in so that they, just the smoke reached them to the Krasnoyarsk territory, and so they went to extinguish it. Imagine they traveled by train for 4 days. And they say, here are we traveling on a train. And he says he woke up from the fact that he smelled smoke. That is, people from another region are approaching us and begin to feel smoke. You know what a joy there is at such moments when we stopped a certain one right there and we dug a ditch and did not allow it to be thrown from the burning side to the green side. And there I got a photo, a picture from space, and there is such a thing. Well, of course, there are only a few kilometers there, but such a straight line. And I say to the guys, look, here is our work, you see, everything is around, a spot. But this line that went to the village, such a straight line has remained. The guys are like, oh, like a result that can be seen. Often the guys say that somehow began to appreciate life more. They began to appreciate life more, to understand more, to feel sorry for nature more. And here almost millions of hectares are being burnt right now. The forest is usually restored for 80 years. Almost millions of hectares are burning, and we have the permafrost. Just imagine, there are 200 to 300 meters of frozen ground below me. And that's how the whole Sakha Republic is on that of frozen slush. And that's thawing saves not only the soil layer, but the forest in the first place. And wherever the forest is cut down, water starts swamping immediately. Everyone say that what kind of water, many people could not understand it, and then scientists say that the permafrost melts. Well, why in some other place it does not that, though? And the forest keeps it, and even if it's cut through cuts, there's always water there. And the most terrible thing is that this forest may never recover. Why? Because in the place of waterlogging, new forest will not grow forever. Millions of hectares have been burned, and you can imagine how it will end and if everything starts to swamp. A part of it will regenerate, but you know how it's in Russia. If a tree is a central part of the country grows for 40 years, our forest will take 80 years to regenerate.
If you have witnessed climatic anomalies, send your videos to climate@allatra.tv.
On September 23rd, one of the most active volcanoes in Central America, the Fuego Volcano, began erupting. The National Coordinating Center for Disaster Reduction of Guatemala, CONRAD, reported minor ashfall in a number of localities.
Residents in surrounding areas were urged to take precautions and prepare for the evacuation if necessary. The topic of natural disasters in the American continent will be continued by a Allatra TV reporter from Argentina.
Hello, with you reporter Alatra TV from Argentina. On September 15, 2021, in 4 departments of Guatemala, prolonged downpours caused landslides and floods. Unfortunately, casualties have been reported. After the disaster, which affected about 12,000 people, more than 70 homes were damaged. Destroyed bridges, flooded and littered roads aggravated the situation with road traffic. Rescue operations and evacuation of the population were carried out. On the same day, in the southwest of Colombia, the La Majana Dam broke. The cause of the flood was the high level of the Cauca River, which was high due to prolonged rains. The flood affected the departments of Antioquia, Bolivar, Cordoba and Sucre. More than 180,000 people were affected. The flood damaged homes and thousands of hectares of farmland. In addition, a large number of livestock died. The red alert level was declared as 500,000 people were at risk of flooding. On the night of September 17-18, heavy rains hit the Mexican state of Querétaro, which provoked a sudden flood. The San Juan River overflowed its banks and flooded the streets of the municipality in San Juan del Rio and 6 other settlements. People were evacuated in 29 districts of the municipality. About 270,000 people were affected. Homes and cars were flooded. Bridges were also damaged. Power and telephone services were temporarily cut off. Residents of the region reported a large number of snakes that penetrated into homes with flood waters. On September 16, heavy rains led to flooding in Virginia, USA. Some streets of the city of Richmond were flooded with flood waters with a height of more than 40 centimeters and turned into full-flowing rivers. Many cars were struck on flooded roads. To help people who fell into water traps, rescuers came. On September 18, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, USA, a storm also led to flash flooding. Unfortunately, a man died. Some motorists were forced to get out of flooded cars through winter.
More than 1 million people have been affected by heavy rains in the Indian state of West Bengal. Unfortunately, casualties have been reported. On the 19th and 20th of September, heavy rains have caused the overflow of the rivers and the collapse of the river walks. People were evacuated. A considerable damage to agriculture was done.
In the state capital, Kolkata, more than half of a month's rainfall fell within just a few hours. Streets and houses were flooded, and traffic was paralyzed.
West Bengal is not the only Indian state whose residents were affected by flooding in the second half of September. A Alatra TV reporter will tell us more about this as well as about flooding in Indonesia.
Hello, this is an Alatra TV reporter from India. In mid-September, there was also flooding in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. A continuously heavy rain that lasted for several days has become a reason for this. The capital of the state, the city of Lucknow, were affected the most. The disaster resulted in the loss of life. Houses, streets, and hundreds of cars were flooded. Many trees were uprooted and electricity poles were damaged, leaving part of the city without power. Educational institutes were closed due to the bad weather conditions. On September 13 and 14, 2021, heavy rain caused large-scale flooding in Indonesia. The residents of West Java, Papua, East Kalimantan, and Batam provinces were affected the most. Extreme rainfall also has caused landslide and overflow of rivers. Over 2,500 homes were damaged and completely destroyed, leaving people homeless. More than 12,000 people were affected in total. Entire communities have been cut off by flood waters. The only way to get the disaster areas was only by boat.
An anomalous earthquake struck southeastern Australia on September 22nd. Its magnitude was 5.9. The epicenter was located about 200 kilometers off the country's largest city, Melbourne. The hypocenter was in depth of 10 kilometers. The first shock was followed by an aftershock of magnitude 4. Residential buildings were partially destroyed by the earthquake. Residents of high-rise buildings were evacuated for some time. Because of debris and damaged tram tracks, public transport was partially disrupted. According to Geoscience Australia, earthquakes are unusual for Eastern Australia because of its position in the middle of the Indo-Australian tectonic plate. For more on the earthquake in China and the Shantou storm in Japan, watch the next story.
Hello, this is the Alatra TV reporter from Japan. On September 16, 2021, a powerful earthquake struck southwest China's Sichuan province. The China Earthquake Network Center reported a magnitude of 6.0. Casualties and dozens of injured people have been reported. The epicenter of the seismic event was located in Chunsing. The earthquake hypocenter was at the depth of 10 kilometers. More than 1,200 homes were destroyed and more than 3,000 buildings were damaged. The streets were filled with rubble and debris. On the night of September 18th, a powerful typhoon Chan-2 struck Japan. People were affected. About 12,000 people were evacuated. Typhoon brought powerful showers and winds with gusts up to 126 kilometers per hour. More than 7,000 homes were left without electricity. The hardest situation was for the inhabitants of the region of Kusu. In the prefecture of Wakayama, wind ripped the roofs of more than 50 houses. More than 400 millimeters of rain fell in Miyazaki Prefecture, which is the month's amount for September in the region. Road, rail, and air traffic was disrupted.
In the Faroe Islands, hunters killed 1,428 Atlantic white-sided dolphins, the largest cetacean kill in the world history.
Ecosystem is not a set of separate elements, but a single living organism in which everything is interconnected. Each individual is a unit of the ecosystem. He depends on it and affects it. And now this interconnection is destructive. We are destroying entire species, and it is already taking on catastrophic proportions.
Around 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened with extinction. The total number of wild mammals has dropped by 82%. In the last century alone, as many species of fauna have disappeared as should have disappeared in 10,000 years.
In 2018, biologists estimated that at the current rate of mammal extinction, it would take 3 to 5 million years for biodiversity to recover. The extinction of plant and animal species lead to the instability of ecosystems and hence the disruption of the natural habitat of humans. In the consumer format of society, a human himself destroys the ecosystem he needs to live in.
There are fewer and fewer safe places to live, and more people forced to migrate.
For example, a survey by brokerage firm Redfin found out that almost half of Americans who plan to move next year have made the decision because of natural disasters and rising temperatures.
At the same time, while some are leaving for safer areas, Less affluent Americans are eagerly buying the homes they are living. Due to influx of buyers, properties in climate-unfriendly areas have already started to get more expensive.
Unfortunately, in the consumer format of society, economic benefits dominate over people's safety.
Climate disasters and the destruction of the planet due to human activities, in one way or another, affect everyone on Earth. And people are not prepared for the catastrophic effects of cyclical climate change because there is no understanding of which processes humans can and cannot influence.
Igor Mikhailovich, in many videos, we talked about the fact that global climate change is largely a derivative of astronomical processes and their cyclicality, and that the human factor in this is minimal. But in your last video, The Future, It Affects Everyone, it was said that we humans have destroyed the planet. So, this raises some misunderstandings among people. What is the main reason for such progressive climatic changes that, in fact, we all already feel now? Is it the cyclicality or is it us, humans?
Of course it's cyclicality, but the anthropogenic factor is affecting something else. That is, we humans are the cause of the destruction of our planet. And cyclicality kills it. Well, that is to put things simply. And in order to make it easier to understand, it's probably worth explaining. Let's start from the beginning. These climate changes that we are seeing right now are the result of the cyclical pattern that occurs every 12,000 years. But once every 12,000 years, we experience this catastrophic changes in a milder form, and once every 24,000 years we experience, well, quite serious global catastrophic changes. Right now, unfortunately, the cycle is of 24,000 years. The anthropogenic factor affects on the ecology, the very state of our planet. And here is where we should probably explain. Let us first explain what, how, and why, so that we can make things clear for our friends, so that it's clear and simple. The cycle means the influence comes from the space. It doesn't depend on human beings. A human, no matter how hard and how much he wants, no matter how hard he tries, he can't harm the planet that much. But our so-called anthropogenic factor, it affects on the health of our planet, the ecology. And in this regard, our survival depends on these factors.
What is especially important for us, all of humanity, right now, is unification. Because only together we can survive in times of global climate change.
By uniting on universal values, we can ensure a safe environment for everyone to live in. And millions of people on the planet are already doing this.
Today, people themselves, volunteers from all over the world who have a reasonable view of reality, together with scientists and experts from many fields, will outline cause and effect relationships of various crises that already affect everyone.
All of us today are divided. We are divided, along multiple axes. And that is the fundamental crisis that confronts us. If we are able to solve that, we'll have a fighting chance to solve for everything else. If we are not able to solve that, science and technology, I don't believe is going to be able to ever, lead us out of the crisis, absolutely the edge of the cliff that we find ourselves on. So I think it's wonderful what is being attempted.
I believe the climate change is just reflecting the collective consciousness of humanity. So in this sense, everybody has the same, same significance, same importance for the humanity. each person. Even you are on the lying on the bed, or if you you cannot do any action at all. You are emitting vibration, you are emitting information like that, and you are affecting all the world. So if you have a life, you are changing the world. You have a potential to change the world.
We're going to be in an environment where it's barren land. We have no oxygen, but yet we have $10 million in the bank. What good is that? You can't buy it.
Concentration of huge flows of people who live according to the principles of a consumer society causes catastrophic environmental pollution in one place.
But there is another option, a creative society, in which the highest value is the life of every person.
There are no boundaries in the air. There are no boundaries in the oceans. We depend on each other very much. And we would like this problem to be taken with utmost seriousness, as it is our responsibility.
We can help guide artificial intelligence to maximize its tremendous potential to enhance society. Now, artificial intelligence may help usher in a golden age of humanity, where we can all live in peace and harmony, free from the scarcity of resources that have divided nations and diminished the quality of life on this planet for so long. I really believe we need to shift the focus of society from cash to compassion. This is creative society, and I'm confident that we can all work together as creative society to help artificial intelligence become one of the most positive developments.
We cannot stay as we are. If we are to move up, then we have to be aware of how to do it and be a conscious agent of that upshift. So information leading to awareness is really everything. That's the key. Programs like this, conferences like this, are a very key element. If we can become oriented towards creating a world, being a creative society, then we can be a healthy impulse, a motivation for the evolution of life.
Creative society is the only possible option for humanity to survive and evolve. But time passes inexorably fast, and everything depends only on us.
You can learn more about the Creative Society on the allatraunites.com website. Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on Allatra TV.